Shalom, all praises to Yahweh, Ba'ashem, Yahweh Shai, Ba'ashem, Harakah, Kodash. Double orders unto the apostles and elders of Great Millstone who rule well. And shalom to the whole full elect. This is Payal of the GMS London camp. And the title of this video will be determined upon upload. But the subject matter is basically delving into the Heavenly Father and Him ordaining rulership upon the earth. Right? He's known as the Most High Power. Okay, which it tells you in the book of Psalms that all the gods of the nations are idols. So the Heavenly Father, Yahweh, being his name, which means he to be, or he exists, all right, basically denotes that he is in control of everything. And in this time that we're presently in, we're in the time of the rule of the heathen. We're at the time of the end of the rule of the heathen. And then being in the time of the end of the rule of the heathen, it's actually at its pinnacle. Because as it goes to in the book of Esdras, the earth, when it was created, when it was at its fullness, was at the time of creation. But then it's been deteriorating ever since. And at its most least healthy state of being, okay? Basically, what's happening is the wicked have fittingly come into rulership, kind of similar to the statue of in Daniel the 2nd chapter, starting with the head of gold, all right, then going down to silver, then going down to brass, and finally, then iron, and then finally iron mixed with clay, all right. We're basically in Esau's rulership of iron being mixed with clay, all right, which shows you that the foundation of those heathen rulerships was made to not last forever, all right. And basically, in that being said, in all the deterioration, this is the peak of wickedness upon the earth. All those kingdoms that have a great form of wickedness, but you didn't have during the time of the Babylonian rulership. They weren't polluting their water supply. They weren't doing that, all right? They weren't creating plastic or formulating disease and things of this nature. But in this kingdom that we're presently in, that's what's happening. And that's really, us entering into, Lord willing, us of the elect, all right, of the hopeful elect. We're basically us of the hopeful elect, we're basically looking to, what's this word? I'm trying to remember. This is like the time of the greatest wickedness upon the earth. And it's really to try us in entering into godhood. Because as the serpent rightly knew, right, that in order for you to become a god, you have to know both good and evil. So this is us experiencing evil at its pinnacle, to go into the kingdom, being, having been tried, accordingly attaining godhood. So without further ado, I'm going to get into a couple precepts I've put together. I'm just going to go through them, and Lord willing, this will be an edifying video. So this is Romans 13:1, and it reads, let every soul be subject unto the higher powers, for there is no power but of the Most High. Right, so I'm going to read through it, then I'll break it, and I'll read it back again and break it down as I go along. So it says, let every soul be subject unto the higher powers, for there is no power but of the Most High. The powers that are ordained of the Most High. Whosoever therefore resisteth the power, resisteth the ordinance of the Most High, and they that resist shall receive to themselves damnation. All right. So as we understand, the Heavenly Father ruleth in the kingdom of men, and he setteth up, as it tells you in Daniel, the 4th chapter, in the 17th verse, setteth up over it the bases of men. So in this time that we're in, you actually have the bases of men ruling, okay? And this goes into, 2nd Esdras, the 6th chapter, about the entering in of the kingdom of heaven. It's done when after Esau's rulership. It says, for Esau is the end of the world, and Jacob is the beginning of it that followeth. And that's why they're the only actual heathen nation that got a second try, basically, a do-over. And them having a do-over, they've actually met wickedness at a greater manner, all right? Because it tells you in the book of Malachi, the first chapter, that they'll return and build desolate places. And that's what they've done. They've returned and built all these desolate places. But the Heavenly Father said that he will basically, they shall build, but I shall throw down. And ultimately that goes into Sirach, the 10th chapter as well, where it talks about in time, the Most High giveth the, it's similar to Job 9, cover it for me. Job 9:24. Sorry, bear with me one moment. Oh, it's for the Most High to basically give the world into whoever's hand he pleases. But he says that in time he'll set up someone profitable to the earth, basically. So this is the time we're presently in, all right? That's why it says, let every soul be subject to the higher powers, because why? The Heavenly Father has ordained this rulership, the rule of Esau Edom, Job 9:24. For there is no power but of the Most High. The powers that are ordained, or the powers that be, are ordained of the Most High, the Heavenly Father. And this is the point. Whosoever therefore resisteth the power, resisteth the ordinance of the Most High, because the Most High set this up for a purpose. If you go against that purpose, then basically you're going against the Heavenly Father. And what kind of spurred this on? I just thought about it at the camp, but even more so, it's kind of with the uprisings that are happening with Jake. You had a little thing where they, I ain't looked into it properly, but you had the thing where you had some armed militias basically saying that they're prepared to fight the government or whatever. As the time progresses in this time that we're in, you're going to have more and more of these things happening, as it did going back into the time of the Roman rulership. Remember, you had, I believe it was Nero. It tells you in the book of Acts how he kicked out all the Jews because they were stirring up, they were causing a ruckus, all right, in Rome, basically. So this is the same thing on this side, all right. And remember, the Lord basically said that these things would happen, all right. That they'll seek to kill us, all right, and basically slander our name. So it says, whosoever therefore resisteth the power, resisteth the ordinance of the Most High, and they that resist shall receive to themselves damnation. So anyone that resists, they're going to receive damnation unto themselves. All right? So let's get an example of this. This is the book of Acts, the 5th chapter, and I'm going to read from verse 34 down to 39. I'm going to break it down as I go along. So it says, then stood there up one in the council, a Pharisee named Gamaliel. Now Gamaliel was who taught Paul of was Paul's teacher basically in the word, when Paul was a Pharisee, as it tells you in the book of Philippians, the 3rd chapter. All right. So it says, a doctor of the law, had in reputation among all the people, and commanded to put the apostles forth a little space, and commanded to put the apostles forth a little space. All right. And said unto them, ye men of Israel, take heed to yourselves what ye intend to do as touching these men. All right. For before these days rose up Feudus, boasting himself to be somebody. All right. And that's really what it is. All right. As we read on, you're going to understand why I'm saying this. Obviously, you brothers that have read this know what it says. But basically, he took it upon himself to do what? Deliver the nation of Israel, to whom a number of men, about 400, joined themselves. So he had 400 men underneath him, and they came together, who were slain, and all as many as obeyed him were scattered and brought to naught. So he thought to be somebody, he boasted himself being somebody, and said, I'm going to take these men out of power, this nation, the Romans out of power. But it was brought to naught. He was killed, all right? That's why it says in the book of Romans, the 13th chapter, if you read on, it says, he beareth not the sword, not in vain. This man, being Esau, Edom, what was his blessing? Going back to the book of Genesis, the 27th chapter, the blessing of the sword. And it says, but basically, he served his brother by way of the sword. So he ain't got that sword for no reason,
as it says in Romans 13, he don't bear it in vain. He's going to utilize it. And guess what? He's known for utilizing it, for overdoing it, if anything. All right? So it says, after this man rose up Judas of Galilee in the days of the taxing, and drew away much people after him. He also perished, and all, even as many as obeyed him, were dispersed. All right? So he also perished. This man Judas of Galilee that rose up during the time of the taxing and said, we ain't having this no more. We ain't paying no more taxes. But guess what? They were killed. And all, even as many as obeyed him, were dispersed. Verse 38. Now I say unto you, refrain from these men. All right? So the words that was given unto from Gamaliel onto, the council that was being held is that to leave them alone, not to touch them. All right, and let him alone, for if this counsel or this work be of men, it will come to naught. So if it's a thing of men, then it'll come to naught. Nothing will happen. But if it be of the Most High, ye cannot overthrow it. These haply ye be found even to fight against the Most High. So if you stand up, and this is in dealing with the men of Yahushua, the apostles that were sent forth. Basically, he said, look, if it's ordained of the Heavenly Father, you're going to be fighting against the Heavenly Father. All right? So that's ultimately where it is. When the Heavenly Father sets sign up in his will, that's where it's going to be. That's why ultimately you had these different men be rose up to try and fight against the Roman rulership at the time. But what happened? They were brought to naught. Because what did it say in the book of Corinthians? The Most High sent forth the apostles last. All right? And they were really sent last to bring an end to this kingdom by way of his holy word, all right? And basically by establishing the will of the Lord being told unto the people, all right, to hold all the earth, all right, in the land of America, starting first and foremost, and then ultimately, after the word is seals the elect, the 144,000 and 1/3 of the nation of Israel. Guess what? Them with the end come. All right. But if it be of the Most High, ye cannot overthrow it, least haply ye be found even to fight against the Most High. All right. So I want to end with this, because even with dealing with Esau, we understand what our source of power is. All right. And this is a psalm from King David. So let's read this. It's Psalm 17 and 13. Arise, O Lord Yahweh, disappoint him, cast him down. All right, so this is King David speaking, praying to the Heavenly Father for him to arise and basically disappoint an individual or a nation, all right, and to cast him down. Deliver my soul from the wicked, which is thy sword. Job 9:24, the earth is given into the hand of the wicked. Esau, Edom, all right, with his sword, which is thy sword. And it's actually the Heavenly Father's sword on the left-hand side to do what? Whip the nation of Israel into shape, all right? Because the reason why it's whipping the nation of Israel into shape, just like when you go back to the Canaanites being a thorn in our side when we came into the land of Canaan, the nation of Israel, all right? The land of Israel, the Holy Land. What happened? You have Esau, Edom, all right? Due to the curses, they've been sent to basically whip us into shape. But they've basically they've gone into overkill, all right? And they think the Most High is with them. They've now moved from what the Heavenly Father's, which only is the Heavenly Father's will, but they're going somewhere else with it, that the Heavenly Father's going to do accordance to this prayer, deliver the soul of the righteous from the wicked. All right, verse 14. From men of which are thy hand, O Lord Yahweh, from men of the world, all right? Job 9:24, as I said, all right, which have their portion in this life, all right, because this is their time to shine. You can't do nothing to stop that, because it's their time to shine. And whose belly thou fillest with thy hid treasure. They are full of children and leave the rest of their substance to their babes. And that's basically it. They have all the power, all rulership in their hand. But we understand this, and this is why we're not jumping up and fighting against him, because as it tells you, Paul said it, we're not ignorant of Satan's devices, all right? And to really fight against Esau, Edom, what are you going to use? The only thing you can use is what? A sword, or not even literally a sword. It would be guns, things of this nature. But that's Esau's blessing. So it's always going to be favorable unto him. All right? We only got to walk in the spirit. All right? Ephesians 6 tells you what our power is. It's really spiritual gifts. All right? As it tells you in the book of 2 Corinthians, that basically, let me quickly read that. 2 Corinthians 10:3. All right, it says, "For though we walk in the flesh, we do not war after the flesh. For the weapons of our warfare are not carnal, but mighty through the power of Yahweh to the pulling down of strongholds, casting down imaginations and every high thing that exalteth itself against the knowledge of the Heavenly Father." So this is a fight to do with a mental fight, all right? First, really a spiritual fight by way of, using mental players. Because we're anything that exalts itself against the Heavenly Father's knowledge, being His Word, the holy words inside of the Bible, we're to bring that, we're to cast it down, all right? And bringing into captivity every thought to the obedience of Hamashiach. So we're meant to straighten it out and align it with the truth of the word. And having in a readiness to revenge all disobedience when your obedience is fulfilled. So we're waiting for the Lord to make His return. And ultimately, in that being done, that's Job, the book of Revelation tells you, all right, how basically he that killeth with a sword must be killed with a sword. And basically that's going to be Esau's judgment. That's why, and that's how, we're going to be delivered from the left-hand side of the Heavenly Father, being Esau, Edom, the so-called white man as he's known today, that has the sword. That's how we're going to be delivered by the spirit and power of Yahweh, Ba'ashem El-Shai, Ba'ashem Al-Rakak Kudash. So with that, I pray you're edified. Till the next one, I say Shalom. Shalom.